little short stint with Cheap Trick.
Okay.
And that's clearly our biggest name that we ever toured with. But it was really just a short one, just a part of their leg. We played this huge place in Houston that George Jones was going to be playing at, the next night or whatever. And they had their walls of Marshalls. Next night was Tipitina's, which we'd played there a few times. Always cool. That's where we had played a show on the Neds tour with Stone Temple Pilots, kind of inserted themselves into our tour at Tipitina's in New Orleans. And then we finished it up in Memphis with Cheap Trick. And that's where we got to know the band a little bit better, particularly Tom Peterson. Gave us the whole rundown on his crossovers and his bass. I don't know if you've ever seen how he does his bass.
Well, we know it's a 12-string, but I don't know how he has it. He probably has it split one into a bass amp, and then he's using a guitar amp too, I think.
That's exactly it. He's got crossovers to pick up the high frequencies, runs them through Marshall amps, and then he has the regular bass frequencies going through Ampegs or whatever.
It's just a massive sound,
My favorite Cheap Trick story, that's what provides their wall of sound for sure. But It was the very first night in Houston. We had just got done, and I was always a really sweaty one, so I'm just sweating my ass off. I'm putting my guitar up, and it's unmistakable, Rick Nielsen when he walks in. It's just there's no mistaking him. And I just look at it, so I'm like, all right, I'm gonna play it cool, And he walks up and he says, "How's it going? How are the jelly beans?" And I'm like, "Jelly beans? We don't have jelly beans on our rider." He says, "No, the jelly bellies, the lemon pipers, the lemon heads." The band.
The band Lemonheads.
Yeah, he was just goofing on our name, right? And lemon pipers, jelly beans. He said, and I just said, "Oh, you mean Flowerhead? We rocked." And he just goes, "Oh, I'm sure you did. I'm sure you did." Getting hazed by Rick Nielsen. That's one of my favorite stories.
It's total shtick.
Yeah.
There is I'll tell you the story since we're talking. 1985, I was working at Eagle Guitar and Sound in Marion, Ohio, going to college, working at the guitar store, and they played the Marion Popcorn Festival. And one of the guys that was running like the show, or I don't know I don't know. I knew the guy, and he called us up. He said, "Hey, how late are you guys there?" I said, "Well, we close at 7." He said, "Oh, cool. I'm going to bring somebody down." I said, "All right." He didn't say who it was, but Rick Nielsen being a big collector.
Yep.
He came down, and of course, I was a big Cheap Trick fan. Still am. Holy crap, I had all their stuff done. And the fact that Rick Nielsen came down to the guitar store I worked at, I just freaking flipped out. But he came in, just went through the back room, looked all over the store like he owned the place.
Yeah.
Do you have anything that I should know about that's not like, out or blah, blah, blah?
Right.
The only thing we had that he wanted was a 61, and it was mine that I was selling on consignment. Now I wish I still had it. Was a 1961 Gibson Les Paul Jr.
Wow.
TV yellow.
Yeah.
And he said, I'll take that. I'll give you $400. Now we're talking 1985. No, it was 86. It was 86. So $400. That was probably the going rate for it.
Yeah, that's probably good money for a junior. Then that was good.
Now it's I don't even want to think about it.
Right.
So he said, bring it down to the show. You guys can hang out on the bus. You can watch the show from backstage. And hang out the whole time.
That's awesome.
So we did. I brought it down. He gave me $400 after the show was done, and we got to hang out. He played it on Clock Strikes 10 on the final for the encore.
That's great.
So
that's great that you got to see it on stage in his hands, because, like you said, he has so many. I remember that's when that first night it was surreal, because I was set up in front of Rick's stuff. And they had, he has his wall of Marshalls, of course, but he also had, all of his guitars were all on stands just right there, kind of, off to the side a little bit, but still basically behind me, so I'm playing our stuff or whatever, and I'm turning around looking at freaking Rick Nielsen's 5-neck guitar sitting there on a stand. It was like it really was a true surreal dream.
It was surreal for me just to be, hanging out on the bus. I remember talking to Bunny Carlos because he's a big record collector, and we were talking. He's going, "Oh yeah, next week Dream Police is coming out on CD."
Oh wow, it was even back before Dream Police even came out.
On CD, it was
on CD. Yeah, gotcha.
On CD, but and I had Standing on the Edge. I had Standing on the Edge already on CD because that's what tour they were doing. It's before the Doctor came out. And I think the Doctor came out like 2 months or a month after this gig, because this was like a late gig. This was like September of '86 when they played.
Yeah.
And now I can't remember what it was, but I didn't even bring a camera. I didn't take any pictures. I do have the CD, and they all signed it. And Rick Nielsen went, "Thanks for the SG," even though technically it was a Les Paul Jr.
Right.
But he said, "Thanks for the SG."
Right. That sounds like him. Yeah.
Yeah. But I got the CD where they signed it all and stuff. But they were all cool. Robin Zander seemed like he was really into himself.
Well, that's interesting you mentioned it, because, even in 1995, he was a guy still being the rock star with the groupies and all that. And, Bun was just doing his own thing.
Yeah.
He was quiet. Like I said, the one that we really talked to the most was Tom Peterson. And I guess he loves that rig, because I've seen him talk about that rig in a lot of different places, but we got the personal version of how he sets that whole thing up. But the most memorable thing about Bun for me was, I'm just looking back at his drums, and he used an old Fender Twin, probably since the very beginning that he's had. It was just as beat up as you could have ever imagined. That was his monitor. His drum monitor was an old Fender Twin, and then of course he had the ashtray, and then now he didn't use used cigarette butts, but he would use cigarette butts for earplugs. Like he would just break them off, and I thought that was kind of creative and different.
Whatever works.
Yeah.
I mean, he's tested that out in the field, so it works.
That's right, and he's just rock royalty.